I came into the world listening. Other people came in noticing visually or touching things and the tactile. This is why there are sculptors, right? Visual artists. And some of us just were innately oriented towards the sound of the world.
Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jody Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. This is the second part of my interview with Michael Joly. You had also mentioned, and this is maybe going away from now, for now.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about microphones because I know that you really love microphones.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, because we were actually just talking about this right before we started, what microphone do you like best and why? Or do you have certain microphones you use for certain reasons?
I don't know if you have children, but I do. I have 3 daughters. I'm not going to tell you which is. I don't have a favorite.
Okay, I see. Yes,
but there are some microphones that are iconic, and that these microphones have become associated with certain usages.
Okay.
In the podcast realm, or before podcasting, in the broadcast radio, let's say radio broadcast realm, probably 2 of the most well-known and most ever heard microphones are the Shure SM7 dynamic microphone, cardioid dynamic microphone, and then the EV, electro-voice, RE20, also a dynamic microphone, but has a unique feature in that when you work the microphone really, really closely, the proximity effect, that is the bass buildup, is not as pronounced as in the Shure microphone. So you can really work the RE20 very close without getting too much bass buildup. And these were important features when these mics were originally developed because earlier radio consoles didn't have a lot in the way of tone controls, equalizers on the console. And in the same way that when Georg Neumann started developing condenser microphones in the late 30s, his iconic M7 capsule that found its way into the Neumann U87.
That's a beautiful mic.
It sure, visually, oh my God, the sound of it, it's just remarkable. So he built into that capsule an upper mid-range, well, it's a mid-range lift centered around about 2.5 kilohertz, maybe about a 3 dB lift. Upper mid-range, and what that does is it gives it helps with articulation and presence, and you get more of the vocal cord clashing sound. So it's and then the evolution of that capsule then came down to us through the U87 tube microphone, and then came the most recorded microphone in the history of the world. Neumann U87.
Yes.
Transistorized microphone, and that which has now spawned a range of transformerless transistor microphones like the TLM 103 that you have. It's very, very
and the
popular.
102 that
and the
you
102
have. Yeah.
that I have. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's a tip. That's a secret tip. Boys and girls, recordists. The 102, I think it's only about an $800 mic as opposed to the 103, which is about $1,300, something like that. And
it depends on where you get it, but yeah.
but so Neumann introduced this lower cost, seeing the down market trend with the emergence of Chinese microphones, actually pretty decent sounding Chinese microphones, decided we need to own a piece of that more entry-level market.
Of course they do, yes.
And that's an interesting, and talk about branding. That's really interesting how Neumann, I think, pretty successfully traversed the emerging challenges to hit a semi-pro audience and then a podcasting audience with products that would be reflective of the brand quality, not erode the brand positioning of the professional products or the heritage microphones, but also encourage new users. It's, you know what it's like? It's like this. It's like the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, right? It looks like looks like a Toyota, right? Right? Mercedes-Benz looks like looks like an old Corolla, but they get people into the Mercedes-Benz family, and I think Neumann has done something very similar with. Wow, I can get a Neumann for $800, $750. Well, I'll start there.
That's a nice mic. It is a nice mic.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you also just a little bit, because I know that you've mentioned a lot of really nice, iconic microphones, but what do you think the environment that you're recording in plays in how well those microphones sound?
Oh, gosh, it's the first thing. You know, this is when you go to the...
That's why I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, well, the voice is the first, right? So just be true to yourself and take care of your voice.
Yes.
Yeah. But the room, you know, I used to be a denizen of all these, the online forums like Gear Sluts, home recording,
Sure.
all those things. And, you know, and the question comes up, what's the best mic for such and such, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's just not as interesting a question because you can't just go buy a room.
Yeah.
Well, you can buy room treatments, but then you got to know how to use it, install them. But the room...
Well, let me frame this way. What would you suggest that people do to their recording environment on a budget, you know, that they could get away with, that would help enhance the sound of their microphone, whatever that microphone happens to be? Okay,
are we talking about voice podcasting or music recording? Or?
Well, I know that let's start with voice and podcasting and maybe even voiceover. But, I mean, singing, you want a little more room tone,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So that's a special case. So let's just take this,
Sure.
The voiceover podcasting announcing. What we're trying to achieve here is to communicate to people through a voice, and people love the intimacy of the audio medium. You know, the person. It sounds like the person's in your kitchen with you, or in your head or your headphones. And one of the ways that we can ensure that or enhance that intimacy is by having a recording environment in which there's almost all of the sound that reaches the microphone is direct, what we would call direct sound. That is from the voice to the microphone, and almost no reflected sound. So the big difference would be if you walk into the bathroom compared to your living room. There's a huge difference, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the difference between a lot of reflected sound in the case of the bathroom, and then in a normal living environment, far less reflected sound, more direct sound. So how you can achieve that is you would use, the classic is recommendation is you have a big closet, and that you space the clothes out on their hangers. And then speak into the closet, and that's going to absorb a lot of the reflected sound that would be happening right outside in the bedroom or wherever this closet is located. So that's one way, and you don't even have to buy anything. So just working in a closet like that can accomplish that. Now, the downside of that is that a small room like that can have what we would call standing wave reflections, and can become somewhat boxy sounding.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, because the clothes don't do much to attenuate the buildup, the low frequency buildup. So if you can, don't work in a corner. Don't speak in a corner. Don't have the microphone in a corner.
I know that we're all dealing with a lot of stuff these days, so I particularly wanted to acknowledge those that have taken the time to leave honest reviews of this podcast. Like Pamela Muldoon, who says, audio as part of your marketing strategy. I could not agree more with Jody's assessment that audio branding is the hidden gem of marketing. Now more than ever, how your brand sounds is becoming just as important as it looks and feels. The short, succinct episodes of this podcast, and I think she's referring to my solo episodes, are filled with nuggets, easy to listen to, that voice, thank you very much, and are perfect for binging. Nice work, Jody. Well, thank you, Pamela. It means a lot to me that you're getting some good information here. Thanks again for the review. And now, back to the show.
One really fairly inexpensive way to go about acoustically treating something like a walk-in closet or a portion of a room is to use the least expensive material that I found is the furniture wrapping blankets available at U-Haul.
Oh, okay. So moving blankets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And these are not the quilted. The quilted ones are awesome, but those are really expensive. But these are the thin ones.
They can be, but they're a lot less expensive than buying a booth. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah. These U-Haul blankets are made from, I think, recycled denim.
Oh, okay.
And there's a binder in there, so you have to open these things up and let them outside on your clothesline for a while to let them get the binder out before you go stick your head in a closet with all these things. But they're fairly inexpensive blankets, and especially if you treat them like theatrical drapes and put them on a rod and let them and create some deep gathers. Some deep.
Oh, okay. So no uniform. Like it's all crinkled up and yeah.
Yeah, so if you can picture theatrical drapes that have these deep vertical wells between folds, that's really a powerful absorption, and it absorbs down to maybe the 300 hertz range. So you're getting well down into the lower voice range, and then if you space these things off the wall and do a double layer of them, now you've really got something that would sound nearly pro. Certainly in the voice range for most people.
What a cool idea. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. When I first started, I actually put moving blankets on grommets and hung curtain rods around me in like a square.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it worked really well. It actually worked really well. I mean, it wasn't soundproof by any means.
No.
But it worked really well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's like a lot you can do to just make yourself a little space. And if it's on curtain rods and stuff, you can push it back when you don't need it, which is really cool.
Yeah. And now they have these, these reflection control devices that mount on a mic stand, kind of like a curved.
I had one of those when I started out too. The SE reflection screen. Yeah,
reflection.
That was heavy.
Mm-hmm. They work, moderately well in the upper mid range. They don't offer any reflection control in the bass range of either your voice or my voice. Mm-hmm. So that's where you could get some boominess, but. Here's where the microphone comes into play. If you use a microphone like a Shure SM7, which has a tremendous bass boost, when you work that microphone really, really close, you get a big, big boost in the bass. Well, if you have a channel strip or a preamp or whatever or your interface, hopefully somewhere along that signal chain, there'll be what's called a high-pass filter. It's either called a high pass or a low cut. So engage
takes
that
out that low rumble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then when you work the microphone really closely, you'll need to restore the natural timbre balance of the voice by attenuating some of that low frequency buildup. Now, the Shure SM7, on the back of that thing, there's actually a low cut filter on that. There's two filters on the back of the Shure SM7. There's a low cut filter, and then there's an upper mid range boost. And when you engage both of those, you get a more present radio-like sound. And then when you work a dynamic mic really closely, that's going to go a long way towards not picking up the offending dog barks and traffic noises and everything that's out there.
Yes.
But you got to deal with the effect of the bass boost that comes from the proximity effect.
What would be the best way for someone to keep from popping their peas? Because that is my pet peeve when it comes to podcasting. Let me just say.
By practicing this sentence, she sells seashells by the seashore. Not using
really?
It. Okay. Now, here's a way that the Beatles used to do it. Mm-hmm. They used to, whenever there was a pea, they would pass their hand in front of their mouth as the pea was being sung.
Yeah, you know what? If you put your finger up like a motion, that actually will cut it down too. because it spreads the air.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that there's another trick that they used to use by taping a pencil.
Yes.
To the front of the microphone.
The pencil trick, yeah.
Yeah, that one. And then, pop filters. And there's two basic types. One is the foam type pop filter, and the other is a double mesh, like a nylon double mesh. But microphone positioning, you can still get really good sound by just having the microphone up and to the right or the left, aimed down at your mouth about maybe 6 inches away, and
right now, my Sennheiser 416 is aimed at the corner of my mouth, so I'm not popping because the air is going like diagonally almost across it. It's not going directly into it. So that please, podcasters, please.
and we can see and we can see your pretty faces better too.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look at. When you look at what's his name, who's got the video podcast, who's got big name?
Oh, talent. Joe Rogan, or
not Joe Rogan, but the British guy in recovery.
I don't know.
Brand, not Stuart Brand. Stuart Brand was the whole earth. But anyway, he's a very handsome guy, and you like to be able to see more of his face and not have him behind it.
The microphone in front of everything. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So mic position to avoid pops, and you can do, and of course, then you can do that better if the room is helping you out.
Yes.
A little bit more. If the room is not too reflective, so you can get a little bit more distance from the mic and not have to be right on top of it. But if you do have to be right on top of it because you're a quiet speaker, or you really want to try to get more direct sound, raise the signal to noise ratio. That is, get the voice to be presenting to the microphone louder than the background noise. You can get really close to the mic, but really try to angle your head away, 45 degrees away, say 90 degrees, not 45, away from the microphone.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And this is a good thing for people to hear. Also, that they can sound treat their environment without spending an arm and a leg. Because, you should do it. If you can do it, you should do it, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. Yeah.
One way it's really convincing is take the voice memo recorder on your phone, and then go into the bathroom and say, "She sells seashells. Hello, hello," in the bathroom, and then do the same thing in a closet.
Yeah. Oh, there's a huge difference.
That will convince you.
Yeah. Well, in my 5x4 booth here, which is sound treated, you can definitely hear that there's a lot less room noise. Let's say it's more what they call dead. Yeah. And I guess the point being that the presence of the voice is more up front, and that there's less coloring it, so that producers on the other end can add whatever they want to it.
Yeah.
So, so those podcasters who are paying an editor, your editor will be able to do a much better job for you if there is less room noise, and they don't have to fiddle with, other noises.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can help.
Yeah.
I appreciate your information there, because I think a lot of people will benefit from hearing that.
Yeah. Gosh, I've had so many home studios.
Oh yeah.
This one's going to be better than the last one, I hope. Always.
I'm sure that it will be. I am sure that it will be. Are you looking for ways to improve your company's or podcast's impact? You'd be surprised how powerful the use of an intentional audio branding strategy can be. Want to know more? I have a free downloadable PDF that gives you my 5 tips for implementing an intentional audio strategy at voiceoversandvocals.com/audio-branding-strategy. That location does ask to put you on a mailing list, just to send you updates on when the new podcasts come out. But if you really don't want to give your email out, I understand. Just contact me directly. My email is all over my website, and I'll make sure you get that PDF without needing to sign up anywhere. If you do sign up, though, you also get access to a resources section called The Studio, where I have videos, white papers, and PDFs, discounts from my guests, and snippets of audio from my guests that no one else gets to hear. So maybe it's worth your while. Totally up to you. And of course, if you're looking for voiceovers, you can get in touch with me about that too. Now, back to the podcast. I wanted to ask you, we're getting towards the end of this, but I just wanted to ask you, just in general, why you think sound is important. What do you think of when someone asks you a question like that?
The first thing I think of is I want to hear nothing for a moment to allow a true answer to emerge.
Also sound and peace. Like, why do you think sound and the lack of sound is important?
Well, I'm on for the past few years, a bit of a truth kick.
Truth is good.
And truth is good. And truth is, what is true is relaxing and peaceful. And sound, I think sound is a doorway that can help us experience truth. It can also be used as a vehicle to deliver lies and discord and chaos. So that's how powerful it is. I mean, this is something that was known from the time of Nazi Germany, that there was a minister of information who used these same microphones from Georg Neumann as propaganda instruments. So those of us involved with sound production and recording have a lot of power at our within voice range. There's, I think, a great deal of responsibility there.
Yes, very much.
Yeah. And it's really pleasant. I mean, I came into the world listening. Other people came in noticing visually or touching things and the tactile. This is why there are sculptors, right? Visual artists. And some of us just were innately oriented towards the sound of the world. I don't know why that is.
Different people have different, I don't know, triggers? What would you call it?
Yeah.
There's all sorts of reasons, I'm sure. Probably having to do with the sounds that you might have heard maybe while you were in your mother's womb, or, was that important? I don't know. There's so many things that can go into that. But you're right. We're all different. So,
and one thing that just occurred to me as you were asking the question is that we hear sound in the microsecond, in the millisecond. Sound is always arising and changing and falling away from word to word. We have a word arise. There's a space between words. There's a pause at the end of a sentence. So there's some truth in that, and that gets back to this sort of 3-minute life cycle that we were talking about: the emergence of forms and returning to nothing. And
sense from chaos.
Yeah. And it's happening. It's happening in the present moment. Now, a visual work, a painting or a sculpture, these things are fixed in form. And they're not changing eventually over millions of years they'll change, right? But over the span of a lifetime, they're not changing. But sound is dynamic and always changing. And I think that we connect to this, and we know something about ourselves and the way that the world is constructed, that it's a dynamic place.
The impermanence of it. Yeah. Where do you see healing going when it comes to sound? Like, what's the future of sound healing?
I think it's going to move into buildings.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah. Through the Internet of Things. That's a technology area where the Internet is going to be in your toaster and refrigerator and other objects that you use, and also the emerging field of well buildings. I'm here in Tampa, Florida, and there's a new neighborhood being built on the site of former empty lots, parking lots, and this is the first WELL, W-E-L-L, WELL certified neighborhood in the world. All the buildings.
What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, the not only the buildings but the streetscape meets an international standard for air quality and noise, access to water, quietness. Yes, all of these dimensions are of human that are recognized as being important to human wellness, including sound, are being built into are part of the architectural specifications of the buildings and also the streetscape. The roofs are no longer going to be populated in this neighborhood. Won't have huge, noisy, heat-producing compressors, air conditioning compressors. There'll be green spaces and outdoor, skyscraper outdoor spaces on top of these buildings. So I know that's one of the reasons why I moved to Tampa. One, to be a part of a business accelerator here, but also to have a closer proximity to this literally groundbreaking approach to well buildings. And I think that that's going to be replicated in a lot more new projects that will see sound being considered more seriously as a healing modality or a wellness modality in the building itself. In the same way that light has been privileged in this way for a long time, but not sound.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I love that. I love that they're forward thinking in that way. That's fantastic. What are you working on now, and how would people find out more information about you?
Mm-hmm. They can go to our website, and it's called n.o.w by solu, N-o.w by solu.
Yes, I didn't realize I was making a pun there, but yeah.
I know. Someone said to me, "Oh, dude, you got some subliminal messaging in there."
So true. I know.
Go by
every second word.
Go by the now.
Oh boy.
Yeah, now by solu is where people can follow us on the website anyway. And then what am I working on? Yeah, this line extension of, we did the hard thing first. We did this hardware product.
Sure.
And now we're doing the extension pivot to a software as a service. So that'll be streaming and a downloadable experience. And because I want to help people, with the technology that they carry in their pockets and meeting spaces. And now tone therapy will remain, for us, the gold standard of an object that can be held and you can feel the vibrations in your hand.
Yeah.
But, the idea that, if you're anxious and you're going into a meeting, that you could hit the solu button on your phone and get 1 minute of centering.
That would be nice.
Yeah. I think it would be really powerful. So that's what I'm working on. I'm really excited about.
Well, I am so looking forward to experiencing that when you're ready to share it. I really appreciate your letting us know.
Yeah, you'll be one of the first to know that it's available.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. This has been really enlightening and interesting and everything.
Yeah. Jody, thank you for doing what you're doing, and bringing a focus to sound and listening and people working in sound. And it's just a wonderful work that you're doing. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time,